At the distant Changxing Island YuanSha Port dock, the aircraft carrier Fujian quietly sits. Google Earth satellite images present us with a stunning scene. Upon careful observation, you will notice two apparent fissures appearing towards the end of the carrier's flight deck, one in an L shape stretching 50 meters, the other a straight line, 30 meters long. This shocking discovery has sparked widespread debate online. Although some netizens speculate that these might be arrestor cables photographed from high altitude, from another perspective, they indeed resemble cracks. Moreover, these supposed cracks' location at the rear of the carrier does not align with the usual position of arrestor cables. Another guess is that these could be cracks in the special coating material on the deck. However, if the coating could crack so significantly, it reflects that the flatness of the deck fails to meet the required standard. How then could such a deck guarantee the safe takeoff and landing of aircraft? In the online discussions, an overseas netizen shared his friend's opinion, who is a member of the Chinese Academy of Engineering. The Academy member believes that these are indeed cracks, attributing them possibly to substandard steel quality, insufficient strength, or a result of an impractical design leading to a fracture. He revealed that they had conducted experiments and were aware that China's aircraft carrier technology is still immature, trailing significantly behind the United States. However, in recent years, China's Unsteel Group claimed that they had mastered the technology of carrier deck steel back in 2013. The strength of the deck steel they manufactured has reached 690 MPa, second only to the HSLA 115 steel used by the US Ford class, with a strength of 795 MPa. While these Chinese media propaganda may leave a lasting impression, it cannot conceal the reality of the suspected cracks on the deck of the Fujian carrier. Corruption and bribery, fundamentally, are to blame for such shoddy construction in China. The website of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection once launched an anti-corruption documentary, which tells the story of the former chief engineer of Unsteel Group, a steel supplier for China's aircraft carrier. This engineer was involved in corruption involving millions of yuan, disregarding the quality of the products from suppliers. Furthermore, the former party secretary of Unsteel Group was also investigated. According to news reports in China, Unsteel suppliers often provide substandard products. In relation to our topic, corruption has been prevalent within Unsteel, from the construction of the Shandong in 2013 to the construction of the Fujian ship in 2016, and finally the launch of the Fujian ship in 2022. These corrupt individuals have maintained their power within Unsteel. This means that although Chinese researchers may have developed effective methods, the suppliers provided substandard raw materials that were allowed by the former chief engineer and party secretary to enter Unsteel. As a result, the so-called special steel produced by Unsteel does not meet the required design standards in terms of quality. Under these circumstances, we can't help but question whether the cracks on the deck of the Fujian aircraft carrier were caused by substandard steel quality. We know that China even has to import steel plates for automobiles, so how could it suddenly produce steel for aircraft carrier decks? Chinese media propaganda is clearly open to doubt. While the Chinese military, as a buyer, has a responsibility to rigorously ensure the purchased raw materials meet standards, we have discovered notices of collusion and corruption between military procurement personnel and suppliers documented on military procurement websites. These acts include supplying counterfeit materials, passing off inferior products as high-quality ones, colluding in sham bidding, illicit profiteering, and providing false third-party inspection reports. These issues indicate persistent corruption in the Chinese military procurement process. This raises the question, how much benefit can the personnel responsible for procurement in the CCP military actually reap? Let's take a look at the massive corruption case of the project commander of China's aircraft carrier, the Shandong. The ex-chairman of China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation and the project commander of Shandong, Hu Wenming, who participated in the fitting out of China's first aircraft carrier, Liaoning, and the construction of the first domestically built carrier, was found to have embezzled 5.2 billion yuan in May of 2020. In Hu Wenming's decades-long career, he participated significantly in the construction and development of equipment for air, land, and naval forces, including the first domestically produced aircraft carrier, the J-10, domestic large aircraft C-919, and other projects. His final position was at China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation, a significant R&D and production institute for the Chinese Navy's aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, and naval weapons. Let's look at the Shandong, led by Hu Wenming. More than 3 years after Shandong was commissioned, it twice entered Dalian shipyard for repairs lasting a year each time, and only entered the Western Pacific for the first time this year, so it's fair to say that the Shandong seldom makes an appearance. Industry experts revealed that the reason for its limited sea voyages is due to issues with underwater facilities such as rudders, propellers, and water-jet propellers, which have imperfect seals resulting in leaks beyond the design specifications. Additionally, there may be frequent failures in the power and electrical systems. Public opinion revealed that Shandong's recent appearance in Guam waters exposed the limitations of the ski jump launch and the vulnerability of fuel supply. The Shandong uses the former Soviet Union's ski jump takeoff, the biggest issue being that the aircraft's takeoff weight can't be large. As a result, either the carried weaponry has to be reduced or fuel load has to be decreased, which discounts the combat effectiveness. Furthermore, the Shandong can only sail for 15 days using its onboard fuel. Hence, during its recent voyage to Guam, a refueling ship was trailing behind the whole time. Last December, China's Liaoning aircraft carrier also trained in Guam waters, and it refueled 4 times via a refueling ship. In contrast, American nuclear-powered aircraft carriers can sail for several years without the need for fuel resupply. The Shandong has now been in service for over 3 years, but it has not yet achieved full combat capability. It hasn't even been able to carry a full complement of 36 J-15 fighter jets, reportedly due to insufficient production of the WS-10 turbofan engines used by the J-15. Based on the current progress, we can speculate that it may take several more years for the Shandong to reach its full operational status. The issue of being unable to rapidly engage in combat was further exposed by Hong Kong media in April this year. According to reports, all 3 of China's aircraft carriers use steam turbines as their power source, and it takes 48 hours to start them up from a completely shut down state, because it requires heating 60 tons of water into steam. Even with methods to maintain the steam temperature above 100 degrees, it still takes an hour to transition from a stationary state to full speed. Public opinion on China's aircraft carriers is full of irony and ridicule. The instances of Liaoning and Shandong emitting black smoke when setting sail have become a joke among the public. On the internet, some have even exposed more shocking acts of corruption, accusing certain naval officers of replacing the diesel fuel used by the engines with heavy oil and pocketing the price difference, casting doubt on the professional ethics of the Chinese Navy. In terms of maneuverability, both the Liaoning and Shandong can only reach speeds of 20 knots, incomparable to the speed of at least 30 knots achieved by the large aircraft carriers of the US, as well as light aircraft carriers of Europe and Japan. While China's 003 aircraft carrier can reach 30 knots, the amount of new technology introduced means that the installation and debugging of equipment will take a significant amount of time. According to insiders, the 003 carrier faces many issues, and it is currently unpredictable when it will achieve combat readiness. To many analysts, China's aircraft carriers currently serve mainly propaganda purposes. According to a Reuters report, foreign military experts generally believe that it might take China 10 years or more to develop a genuine offshore aircraft carrier military strike capability. Therefore, China's so-called high-end military weapons can only deceive the domestic public. To professionals, both domestic and abroad, the reality is crystal clear. Currently, the only Chinese aircraft carrier with full combat readiness is the Liaoning, which is a refitted version of a carrier designed in the Soviet Union in the 1970s. Despite this, the Liaoning has had its share of issues. An overseas dissident familiar with the Chinese military revealed that in April of last year, the Liaoning experienced sudden engine problems during training in the Philippine Sea. The aircraft carrier was immobilized, and the USS Mustin, an American destroyer, passed less than a kilometer away, a direct blow to the perceived combat capability of the Liaoning. A netizen who has worked at a certain aerospace research institute for many years said that they once boarded the Liaoning aircraft carrier for equipment debugging and discovered that there were various projects on board, each outsourced and of worrisome quality. The hardware equipment was crudely made, and the software was plagued with numerous bugs. On February 28th this year, the Liaoning entered Dalian Port for maintenance. Recently, Hong Kong media released the latest photos of the Liaoning taken on May 19th, showing nearly all of the carrier's defensive weapons disassembled. This suggests that the maintenance is definitely not a small undertaking. It is possible that the Liaoning will not be able to leave port this year, leaving the Shandong aircraft carrier, which has not yet achieved full combat capability, alone for readiness. China has many other weapon systems that are hyped up but prove to be of low quality when put to the test in military exercises or actual combat. In 2021, shocking corruption cases involving the Chinese military emerged on Twitter. The conflict on the China-India border uncovered a major corruption case involving armored vehicles produced by the Dongfeng Motor Corporation. These vehicles were easily penetrated by Indian forces, leading to casualties. It was found that the supposedly bulletproof steel had been replaced with cheaper material, with those involved in the corruption ring pocketing millions. The 2017 TV drama In the Name of the People, which follows the process of a prosecutor's anti-corruption work, became hugely popular. The scriptwriter disclosed in an interview with mainland media that military commanders were embezzling funds in various ways, including writing off vehicles as scrap during exercise drills, only to sell them secretly and pocket the proceeds. The same was happening with the fuel intended for exercises, and the number of shells fired was grossly exaggerated in reports. So, what can we expect in terms of combat readiness from the 003 Fujian aircraft carrier, currently docked at Shanghai's Jiangnan shipyard? The propulsion system of the 003 relies on diesel generators. Despite having a lower power output than nuclear-powered carriers, it insists on adopting electromagnetic catapult technology, which undoubtedly creates new problems. When the carrier is moving at full speed, the power supply for propulsion and various support systems may be insufficient if an aircraft needs to be launched. In terms of aircraft, the 80,000-ton 003 can only accommodate 50 aircrafts due to the large size of the J-15 fighter. With a wingspan of 15 meters and a length of 22 meters, the J-15 is significantly larger than the American F-18, which has a wingspan of only 12 meters and a length of 17 meters. Compared to the F-35C, the J-15 is also 7 meters longer. In comparison, the American Nimitz-class aircraft carrier of the same tier can carry up to 80 aircraft, and the UK's Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carrier can accommodate 70 aircraft. Regarding aircraft handling, the Fujian is only equipped with 2 hydraulic elevators, far slower than the electromagnetic elevators of the American Ford-class carriers. Moreover, on the 003's deck, the placement of the first blast deflector obstructs the elevator, while the second smoke deflector obstructs the landing path of the aircraft. These design issues further reduce the Fujian aircraft handling efficiency. In terms of combat capabilities, the J-15, whose design originates from the Soviet-era Su-33, is not a match for the American Super Hornet currently in service. Additionally, China's 5th-generation carrier-based fighter, the J-31, has yet to make its debut, while the US has already begun developing the 6th-generation fighter, the NGAD, and plans to start testing in 2024 and mass production in 2026. According to this timeline, by the time the J-31 is operational, the US's 6th-generation fighters may already be in the field. US carriers will be equipped with advanced 6th-generation fighters, as well as a number of fifth-generation F-35C aircraft, presenting a significant challenge for China in terms of carrier-based aircraft. Those with knowledge inside the CCP have highlighted that an aircraft carrier is a complex entity that demands comprehensive capabilities for its operation. It is not simply a matter of constructing a large flat ship and placing aircraft on top of it. The internal workings of an aircraft carrier consist of numerous intricate systems, such as steam turbines, communication systems, logistics systems, avionics systems, and personnel systems, among others. Additionally, an aircraft carrier relies on the support of airborne early warning aircraft, escort systems, and supply ships, forming a multifaceted network. China still faces significant deficiencies and noticeable gaps in the overall carrier system. Therefore, last August, after Nancy Pelosi left Taiwan, China conducted military exercises around Taiwan, but their aircraft carriers were noticeably absent. The absence of aircraft carriers from such a large-scale exercise may stem from two reasons. First, China's carriers may genuinely be incapable of participating in large-scale group combat exercises. Second, their participation might expose the carrier's weaknesses. Alessio Patalano, professor of war and strategy at King's College London, noted that modern aircraft carriers have incredible complexity in capabilities. Evidently, China still has a long way to go in the development and effective utilization of carrier technology.